Okay, welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Priamguli. I am Training and Instruction Manager in the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, otherwise known as CETL. CETL is proud to present today's faculty learning opportunity, co-sponsored with the libraries. Reduce student costs, boost success. Open resources for the win. Our presenters today are Denise Woetzel and Robin Pesko of the Reynolds Libraries. And before I hand it over to them, a couple of housekeeping items for today's session. One is that we are recording, so please keep that in mind. We like to record all of our faculty learning opportunities to post to our website and provide for those who are unable to attend with us live. Check out our website, go.reynolds.edu/CETL for all of our past faculty learning opportunity recordings and any upcoming ones. Second is if you are in Zoom, make sure your first and last name are displayed so we can record your attendance and provide you that PDO credit in the Virginia Learning system. And then finally, for questions throughout today's procedure, Denise, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to utilize the chat. So pop them in there. We'll get to them throughout the presentation in a timely manner. So feel free to utilize that and we'll make sure those are addressed. So without any further ado, hand it over to Denise.
Welcome, everybody. And I noticed that my co-librarian, Robin, who's presenting with me, has just come in to the Zoom, and she's actually presenting remotely off Reynolds campus today. And so let me go ahead before I forget. If you want to refer back to this OER guide, I'm going to go ahead and copy that URL and then paste it in the chat. Let me see this. Okay, let me go ahead and, okay, so you'll see a link in the chat. So if you want to go ahead and click on that link and then just bookmark it in case you do want to refer back to it. And so what I wanted to do first is we want to take a 3-question poll just to see what your familiarity is with OER resources. So you can go ahead, and if you went ahead and clicked on the link to this guide, you'll see that pollev.com/dwetzel132. And so, so, yeah, the easiest thing to do is go ahead and click on that link in the chat and then go ahead and click on that pollev.com. And then I'm going to go to my present screen to see your responses. So let me go ahead. And the first question is, let me go ahead and click on present. Okay. So have you ever used open education materials in your classes? Now this is not giving me the number, but at least one person has said yes. But you know, if you haven't had a chance to respond yet, let me know, and I'll wait on this question. Okay, so everybody answered?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go to the next question. Have you ever used open pedagogy in your classes? And Robin's going to be covering that a bit today. Okay, yes and no, 50-50. And
I don't know what it means, so I don't know.
Okay, well, our other Robin Pesko, is going to cover that a little later. And our third question, and you could go ahead and type it in. If you want to just briefly describe the type of open materials or open pedagogy you have used in your classes already, or what you would like to use in the future. OpenStax, I see that. Okay, yeah, fine. Must be professional portfolio. Yeah, okay. Did you want to add anything else? Any other responses? Okay, so let me go ahead and exit out of this response screen. And I'm going to go back to our OER Getting Started LibGuide. And I'm not going to go into all these pages of the guide, but I'm going to start with our Searching for OER, our textbooks page. And you'll notice here, there's a few videos that we're not going to waste time watching, and you can look at those videos on your own time. But I did give Robin Pesko co-host rights. So let me scroll down. We're going to show you the open textbook library first. Robin, did you want to share your screen? You could just, even though my screen is being shared, I believe you could just go in and then share your screen. Let me know if you can do that. Okay, so, okay. Robin, can you say, introduce yourself to the class so I know that we can hear you?
Hi, Robin, this is Kevin. Lower left-hand corner of Zoom, you should be able to unmute that.
Oh, there we go. I'm so sorry.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So sharing the screen and trying to go into first looking at textbooks. So it seemed like at least one person was familiar already with OpenStax. Is that right?
Right.
All right. Yeah. So that's a really kind of my favorite one to start people off with, just because they're so easy to navigate. They're really user friendly, and they're so easy to get a physical copy of at the cost of making the textbooks themselves. Let me
Do you want me to share the screen, Robin, for OpenStax?
if you don't mind, that would be perfect. I'm trying to balance my laptop in my car, and it's a little precarious. Anyways, so yeah, so OpenStax is an excellent starting point, especially for people who are new to the open education concept, which is basically just trying to provide any educational materials possible to as many people as possible for free or at low cost. So low cost would be what OpenStax does with the physical books. So if you want the actual physical textbook, you just pay the cost of production. So a $150 science textbook ends up being $25, which is fantastic and useful for plenty of people. Well, most people.
I see the subject areas here that OpenStax includes. Robin or other Robin or Stephanie, what subjects do you teach, or what would you like us to search?
Early childhood education. I don't see that.
I think that they mainly cover, well, OpenStax itself generally tends to cover the first mandatory business, economics, and finance. They definitely have a macro and I believe microeconomics textbook on here. But yeah, they tend to cover, when they first started, they just covered the basics of, the core university or college courses people are expected to take. They've expanded now to cover some high school courses. And wow, that nursing section with the maternal newborn nursing and stuff, I've never seen that. That's awesome. So yeah, they've been doing a lot of expansion. They've had a lot of volunteers helping. They're hosted by Rice University, and they got started with a Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So they started out with really good funding, which was probably how they got such a user-friendly, easy to navigate platform. But that's definitely what makes them ideal. Yeah, if you go up to economics or introduction to business, and those are in the upper left, right there under business or business, any of those ones would probably.
Oh, Stephanie, what do you teach, Stephanie?
Early childhood education.
Oh, okay. And then Robin, our other Robin, what do you teach?
She put in the chat business, economics, finance, and marketing.
Okay. Let's go. Okay. Let's go into economics. You want to try that?
Yeah. So yeah, the macro and microeconomics textbooks are there. So they're super easy to download. You can get them in whatever format you prefer. They're one of the really nice things about these open education textbooks is that, sometimes universities try to say that, or some of the textbook companies will say, well, you can put the cost of the textbooks in your tuition, but that ends up punishing students because they don't get to keep the books after the class. They're paying still top dollar for something that has just lost. I mean, textbooks always lose a little bit of value, a lot of value when the new edition comes up, but there's no opportunity for them to continue to use the textbook. Like if they have to retake a course, they don't have the option to reuse the textbook. So it's really nice. You have access to these textbooks for life. You have, have some textbooks actually have like a CD of content attached to them. All of that content is embedded in the textbook itself, and it's constantly updated and kept relevant. So those are all really nice benefits, both for the student and for the instructor, because you don't have to go through and look for new editions because any really major developments are going to be already added to the textbook. And this is just one provider of open education textbooks. There are so many, and it's a really amazing variety that are provided. And if you have, we can make a list too if you want to email us separately, and we can go through and visit the OER Commons and try to find more specific things that will work with you individually.
And, what I'm noticing, because I haven't used OpenStax in a while, but I do see, just like our open textbook library, which our virtual Library of Virginia Consortium is involved with, they're pretty much set up the same way, where you can view the web version of it, you can download it in a PDF, but I also see that for at least these few textbooks that I clicked on the menu, there's both instructor resources and student resources. But for this one, let me go ahead and click on View Online, and then I'll go to the book. So, yeah, so typically you'll see a table if you haven't used any of these open textbooks before. I'm sure that maybe you've seen some examples, but you'll see the table of contents on the left, and then there's different ways to navigate through these books.
And it's the same thing, just like any other task that you have to do for college, really. There's a learning curve, just like learning to assign to my Reynolds. It takes, some people get it right away, some people it takes a little bit longer. These textbooks are the same thing. It's like an ebook that after you're used to how to navigate it, it becomes a lot easier. It's just that learning curve that you have to get past.
Right.
But that's going to be true of anything that's virtual or involves any technology now. So
Let me see
there's that.
What shows up if I click on instructor resources. Okay, so it has an instructor getting started guide I see here.
Yeah, and that OER Commons hub that is on the upper right-hand side of that top box, right there, yeah. Or it's just below this box, the one that says OER Commons Hub Resources. That's what I was referring to earlier. If you don't find the textbook that you're looking for in OpenStax, that opens, if you search OER Commons, that'll open you up to not just the textbooks themselves, but all sorts of resources that are open education. So there are like massive open online courses, MOOCs. There are study guides, just all of that supplementary kind of material along with textbooks and even lectures and entire courses available. So it's pretty cool.
Let me go back and, because I did see from OpenStax, I wonder if under social sciences, there at least might be, no, I don't see that, like any sort of education subject for early childhood, but I don't see that under social sciences, but we could try some other resources here. Let me back out of OpenStax and you'll notice on this page for textbooks, we have a plethora of resources. And of course, you know, there's so many OER resources out there. You can always get Robin or I or any of our Reynolds librarians to work with you one-on-one in finding resources for your particular courses. I did want to show you, and one that I do like that I've had a lot of luck with. Let me try this open textbook library and see what subjects are included in this resource. Oh. Interesting.
Oh dear. I mean, that's one of the, you know, it's
This was just
anything that's technology. Yeah, there's
All right, here we go. All right, let me browse subjects. Let's see what we have here. Okay, we have education here. Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean, you could browse through these broad subjects. I mean, you might even want to try, let me actually type in the search box early childhood and see what might come up. Oh, I see something here. So I do see it here. There's a few in here. So let me click on this first one.
And that's also going to be true in general. And that's why we're always happy to help people if they're looking for textbooks, because sometimes you're not sure if it's the link that's because of something on campus or if it's actually a dead link in and of itself. And that's a true thing of any digital item, is that it kind of has they tend to have a shorter shelf life overall. But for the most part, the more established ones, just like OpenStax, those ones are reliable consistently. I think these ones are actually, they usually are pretty reliable. SUNY is pretty on top of their stuff. So I'm not sure if this is that their links are dead or if this is a campus access issue.
If you want to adopt a textbook as is, just pay attention to the date, because that might make a difference with, you know, that particular subject area. You don't want something that's too out of date. I mean, this one's from 2018, but it may still be relevant. Well, I think because it's been available for several years, it does have 16 reviews. So there's OER resources out there that are reviewed by teaching faculty in that field. And if you're actually interested in reviewing books from the Open Textbook Library, just reach out to Robin or I, because we can contact our Viva Open Textbook Library person, and they can give you access to the form where you can review these textbooks. But here
and one thing that I always like to tell people too is it's something that really stuck with me when I was first learning about open education resources is you think it's like, it can seem like it's not a big deal because it, you know, $140 for a textbook, even like an $80 textbook, but that can be the difference for some people between letting their kids enroll in soccer after school. It's depending on your income, it can make a huge difference. And there are so many people who either, I mean, I know I got a full grade less than what I could have gotten in one of my courses because I ordered a used textbook and it arrived 3 weeks late. It was very frustrating. But that's one of the major issues that these open textbooks help prevent, is that people have access to them on day one. And it helps keep people caught up in the class.
And typically, when I'm searching in the open textbook library, I'll see more than one format. For this particular book, there is a PDF. But a lot of times you'll also see the HTML of the web page version of that book as well. Let me back out of the open textbook library, but if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. If we're going through a resource too quickly, because there's so many other resources to show you. But I want to click on the tab from this page, which is Meta Finders. Okay, what is a Meta Finder? Okay, so these search engines or portals will search not only textbooks, but also courses, syllabi, assignments. And so another portal we have from the Virtual Library of Virginia is our Viva Open. And it's an open, a collection of open education resources that were created by faculty and professionals at Virginia institutions. So you might want to explore the Viva Open. And okay, well, you can either type in what you're looking for in the search box there, or you can look at your menus near the top here. I see Discover, and then I can click on Resources. And then you can get an idea of like what subject areas are covered. I do see education here. And I just wanted to show you, here, early childhood development. I see from the menu on the left. So let me go ahead and click on that to narrow down our list of resources a little bit more. And then sometimes it's hard to tell. Okay, the first one I see, because I'm looking at the information underneath the title, that's a textbook. This one's a textbook. I picked up 25 results, but I did want to show you, if you use the menus on the left, they're not all textbooks. So if, for instance, I click on the menu material type, and I don't know what I'm going to find, but maybe there is a full course, but let me go ahead and click on full course under material type. And yes, it did find a couple full courses. And let's see the description in here. I see, well, for that second one, I see more of a description. It's the full course, including homework assignments and lecture notes and a textbook. Let me go ahead and click on it to see what that looks like. And then you can, it gives, all right, a little bit more of a description, but let me go ahead and click on view resource. So it's saying it's a full course, but to me, it looks like a textbook. So sometimes maybe these, they're not assigned correctly to the type of material that they are, but there are different types of material besides textbooks in the Viva Open. So let me go ahead and let me know if I'm backing out too quickly. Let me close some of these tabs here.
And that's a really important factor too, is we really like to emphasize about open education resources is that it's not just textbooks. They can be anything from, Wikipedia is an open education resource. It can be software. It can be just the lecture notes that somebody uploads. There are a bunch of different ways to make content that is open, and even more ways to use it.
If I may add to that too, in thinking about Denise, your example there of the course, Canvas Commons for the faculty teaching in Canvas. If you're not familiar with Canvas Commons, it's a resource where other instructors, faculty, even instructor designers are sharing full courses, partial Canvas material and content as another great resource for OER. So that's another plug to make. All found within your Canvas shell. So Canvas Commons for those unfamiliar.
And I'm going to click on our next page in this OER Getting Started Guide, Journals. And unless Robin Pesko wants to show another journal, that the one that I sort of like is the DOAJ, the Directory of Open Access Journals. Did you want to show that one, Robin?
Since I don't want to tempt fate with my my connection right now, so if you don't mind doing the walkthrough, and I can just type in.
Oh, okay. Which one is it?
Oh, the one that you were gonna do is fine.
Oh,
Or I mean, yeah, I've had instructors who have assigned students when I was I've had students at Sergeant Reynolds use chat to ask for assistance finding academic articles via Google Scholar. So there are some people already using them. It's just yeah, there sometimes you just have to go to each individual source. It's harder to find there just isn't really a compilation of everything, but that's true of, you know, how you have to switch from JSTOR to any number of Cineral, any of the other online databases.
Oh, Robin and Stephanie, if you can put in the chat yes or no if you've used Google Scholar before.
Say it one more time.
Okay. So Robin, let's see what we have here.
Google Scholar is what we were talking. We mentioned it just if anyone has.
Oh, no.
Okay, so let me put in early childhood, and then I'll try economics next and see what comes up. Okay. And you'll notice we have journals from other countries. Okay, here's one, Journal of Early Childhood Education Research. And just a little description of this journal, and then I can go ahead and click on website. Okay, current. So this is, okay, so this is the most current issue from 2024. It might be a spring issue. And then if I click on any one of these links, it should bring up the full article. Let me scroll down. I do see the abstract. But this does have
yeah, it is really you know, because there's such a wide variety of content that's being produced and offered, sometimes it does take a little finagling to find exactly what you're looking for. But again, that's what the librarians are here for, or there's an incredible online community for OERs as well. So you can also ask on that community, and people are always so willing to help and to look for things. And it's just, it really is the most welcoming and helpful bunch of very dedicated professionals that you can come across.
And then what I'm noticing is I clicked on the most current issue, and I guess they haven't placed the full articles on the site yet. And that happens, like, you know, you have to wait a little while for articles to get into the library databases or even Google Scholar. But I went to a issue from 2023. It is giving me the PDF link. So let's see if it gives me the full article when I click on that PDF link. Okay, yeah, so it does have full articles. And let me back out of this, and let's go quickly to Google Scholar. And I'll go ahead and type in, I'm just going to be really general, I'll type in economics. Okay, and then Robin, if you want to explain about Google Scholar, especially
Absolutely,
the links on the left, giving
So-
a hint whether they're gonna be full articles or not.
Exactly, and that's also kind of what you have to do anyways with the databases that we pay, hand over foot for to have access to through the library. Google Scholar, similarly, you have to select that you want the full access to read the full item, otherwise you might just get access to the abstract. The other pitfall of Google is that, some people can pay to have their results come up first. So just being aware of that is one thing, but if you sort them by date, and most people want things that have been published within the last 5 years. Literature may be a little bit different, but I think that most sciences and economics research people prefer within the last 5 years. And after you put that limiter in, you can usually see it'll say full view, it'll have a PDF, and there are other ways to look for articles as well. If you see something that you want, and this is true across the board, for paid databases or non-paid databases, is that you can type in a Google search, type in the name of the article, and then .pdf. You can also try to email one of the authors directly. They're usually really willing to just send you a copy of the article themselves. And there are also a few other ways to try to get around financial barriers to accessing articles in general.
So I
But yeah,
did
Google Scholar is great.
for Google Scholar. Let me see if there's one. Okay. Yeah, most of them, like if you look through the results, almost all of them have like a link to the right. This one not, but you never know. I mean, I've demonstrated this in other classes. Sometimes I get the full text to appear even though there's not a link to the right. And then sometimes, okay, well, this is the full article. And I think, yeah, we might be getting this from it's recognizing the IP addresses. Maybe it's coming through a database, whereas if I was off campus, it might not recognize that we do have access through the databases. So sometimes it's just not clear in Google Scholar whether you're going to pull, but you can always reach out to a librarian and ask us, and we'll see if it's okay. Do you have access to this? And we can give you if you can't get it through Google Scholar, we'll give you the link that you can access on campus or off campus from one of our databases. Let me go back to our guide. And I did want to show you also images if you wanted to include graphics in your courses. And there's quite a few listed here. I used to like the first one listed there, Flickr, because it does have a lot of Creative Commons images or photos, but not everything in there is a Creative Commons. So you have to look to see if you're able to use it. And you'll know if you click on if you right click to save the image in Flickr and it doesn't allow you to save the image, take a look at the Creative Commons license, and it will say, no, this can't be. You can look at it from the Flickr website, but the creator of that photo is not allowing and anyone else to use that image. Now, one I do like, I sort of like the Wikimedia Commons. You can find pretty much any type of photo or image on here, but I'm going to go ahead and type in the search box on the right, economics. And so all these images can be used for free. Let's see. Okay, so this is in the public domain, so you don't even have to have put a Creative Commons license there. And I'm going to have Robin explain public domain when we get to that part with Creative Commons. Was there any other open image sites that you like, Robin?
I usually actually just do a Google search, and then I use the search parameters, a Google image search, and I'll put in the search parameters, the size I want, and the Creative Commons attribution that I want.
Let me go to our pedagogy page, and then now Robin, okay, and again, we have a few videos here to, if you're not familiar with open pedagogy, as well as some links to resources, but I'm gonna have Robin explain what open pedagogy is.
So this is what I get super excited about, and what I think is probably one of the most interesting trends in open education. So it's the concept of renewable assignments or non-disposable assignments. And so our traditional education system, people write essays, they send them to the instructor, they're graded, they get returned, and depending on how meticulous the student is, either they put them in a file somewhere or they throw them away. So the whole idea behind renewable or non-disposable assignments is that students aren't just doing this for their instructor's grade. They're actually trying to create something that they can build off of that other people are going to see. So it could be anything from having them start up a LinkedIn account and then start, they don't even have to do a huge amount, just read an academic article based on around a topic that they've been assigned, and then post a review of that academic article with a link to the article. So even if people don't have access to the article, they can still see that this person has been active on LinkedIn and they've posted their own take on a professional article. It's a great way for people to get started, trying to get a professional presence online. And then there are so many other things that can be actively within the course or just ancillary resources that can be super fun. So one of the sites that I like a lot, one of the open education resources I like a lot, is called hypothesis.is, so hypothesis, and it enables people to have different layers. You take a PDF, you can have the instructor layer, but then you can have students respond in different layers. So one of my favorite assignments that I heard about one person doing was that they had students respond. They were reading Hamlet, and the students were not excited about it. And then they had the students respond using GIFs. Within, every few lines, it was somebody's turn to post a GIF summarizing what was being said or their reaction to it. And then another assignment was students were supposed to take the characters and then just interpret what they were saying using just text messages. So it can be really funny and really fun. And then you can have other students build off of that. It can be kind of like in that sense, that's where you get the renewable and remixing thing. You can have, if you have one class do the GIFs, you can have another class take the GIFs and interpret the GIFs with what they think would have been the Shakespearean response to it. So beyond that, there's instructors can also have students help them write textbooks. And one of the ones that I heard about during Open Education Week was an instructor who was teaching network security and cybersecurity, and he actually would assign each of his students a computer virus to research, and at the end of the semester they had a new chapter to add to the textbook, which is really interesting. But yeah, I just, any kind of concept of what students are doing, it's not just for them, they're contributing to other people are going to see it, they're contributing to the public itself, it makes them care more about the work, and they tend to be a little bit more invested in what they're doing. So another light assignment that you can do would be to have them edit Wikipedia. And I mean, obviously Wikipedia has a lot of editors and a lot of people putting in content, and frequently it's either incorrect or the article is just really small. And the more niche the knowledge, the smaller the article is going to be. So that's another way that you can have students doing something that's going to be available online that anyone can see. So they're going to want to do well. And I think putting that extra little bit of care into an assignment really does make a difference with how much students take out of the course and how much they learn. So yeah, that's essentially what the running theme of open pedagogy in general is trying to create something that continues to have an impact and that can be remixed and used with other students and with the public.
And let me see, I'm trying to remember when I was adding some of these open pedagogy links in here, if one has some good examples of different types of assignments for students. Okay, so I do see here, like Robin mentioned, editing Wikipedia articles or even creating Wikipedia articles.
Mhm. Another really cool one that I heard of was one instructor had his students go out into the community and interview older senior citizens within the community to get their experiences down. And then he would have the next class look at those interviews. They'd do their own interview. Then they'd go find somebody else and interview them, but they'd remix the interviews and combine them together to create something new using the previous student's work. So it's something that it's a project that continues to kind of create a catalog of experiences within the community, but also continues to grow and provide students get to see examples of what have been done, and then they get to make it personalize it and make it their own.
Let me go back to our guide. And then I'm going to click on our Creative Commons and attribution page. And again, there's a video there that you might want to take a look at if you're not familiar with the different CC licenses. But Robin, did you want to explain it?
Yeah, absolutely. So running through it, basically, there's the Creative Commons. There's just open everything, which is you have made it public domain. People can do whatever they want with it. Your picture or your article, whatever you're publishing. If it's just completely public domain, you don't even need attribution. So one example of what that is when people come up with new memes. That's the kind of thing that's, you're not gonna use any kind of CC or Creative Commons with a meme. You just make a meme and have fun. So that's the very bottom rung of it, sort of, and then it kind of builds on there. So then you have Creative Commons by attribution, which it says that you can reuse it, you can change it, but you have to attribute the original to the person who made it. And then there is share alike, which means that you can redistribute it and you can change things, but you have to do so with providing the same permissions to future viewers of your work. So then there's reuse with non-commercial, which is just saying you can't make a profit off of anything that you're doing, but you're allowed to reuse it or change it. And then there is no derivatives, where you don't, exactly what it says, you don't modify it, you can't remix it, but you can show it to people. And that's usually associated with just the general attribution license. I've never seen one that had no derivatives without the Creative Commons attribution license, but I'm sure somewhere one exists.
Yeah, so I mean, if you were going to create an open resource and apply the Creative Commons license, that would be up to you how restrictive you want to be. Now, the one right here, CC BY, is going to be your least restrictive because people can revise it, remix it. It can be from, you can, it includes derivatives. You can use it for commercial or non-commercial purposes, where the one to the lower right here, you'll notice you can't non-commercial only, so you can't use it for commercial purposes. There's no derivatives.
And I would just also add the part of this is you just have to remember the internet's going to be the internet. So the more restrictive you get with it, one, the fewer people are going to see what you've made, but two, if it's too restrictive, people are going to find ways to see it anyways. It's sort of like the streaming platforms we have now. People are willing to pay a certain amount to have access to stream on Spotify or Amazon Prime Video. But if it starts going up too high, people are going to go back to finding illegal ways to share things if they want it badly enough. So academic articles don't have as much of a as much of a large community who want it that badly, but yeah, it's just you're more likely to have attribution if you put CC by attribution, but just keep in mind um the more limited you are, the less likely people are to listen to it, and the fewer people are going to view it. It does. Stephanie have a question?
I do. So I heard public resources. So like we, in some of our classes, we write lesson plans and we use, a resource that is on Department of Education's website. It's their development and learning standards for young children. And so we use that to kind of help with the goals and objectives we are writing for those lesson plans. Is that, I mean, that's okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Okay.
public domain, and also that's the intended use that the government provided it for. So some of it's just if you're ever worried about it, one thing to remember is, does the source that you're using have a history of going after people? The Department of Education is really unlikely to go after anyone. They might just say, hey, we'd love it if you could attribute this to us, but the likelihood that they're even going to send you an email is very minimal. Now, Pixar, for example, has more of a reputation for going after people, but there's also, and copyright stuff gets really complicated, but there's wiggle room when you're using it for academic purposes in the first place. So you're really unlikely to be prosecuted or have to worry about any of that in a small community college. But the thing that they would go for, though, is if it's longer than, I believe, 30 seconds.
Okay.
But yeah, if you cover your bases by just saying this is where it came from,
yes,
then
we
you're
do.
basically good.
We tell the students, you can use a resource, but you still have to cite your work so that they know how to cite work properly. You give them credit because it's not technically your words, it's their words, but you're just using it in your lesson plan to show how your activity aligns with those goals and objectives.
Exactly. And I'm sure that's actually what the Department of Education actually wants. So you're using exactly the way they intend. Another, just plug in the Wikipedia editing thing again. But not only is that a great open education source where it allows the college to contribute to the vast knowledge, the commons knowledge in general, but it also helps students become more familiar with what bibliography is and the citations in general. So it's a really great way to kind of knock down that intellectual intimidation barrier that exists when people look at citations.
Yeah, and then
Thank
I
you.
scroll down this Creative Commons and attribution page, and so what you were just discussing, I mean, as long as you're attributing, and with the guide that I'm providing now, this OER Getting Started guide, of course, we're providing links and we're linking out to these different resources, but we're still putting a credit in the description under the link. So as long as you have like the title of the resource, the author, if there is one, because sometimes there's just not an author listed, who's sponsoring the site or the source, if there's a license, and then a link to it. And if you're just going to use let's say a textbook as is that you found through OpenStax or Open Textbook Library, you're not going to modify it at all. I mean, you would just attribute it the way the license already is. Because you're not changing the book at all or modifying it. And
so then it's just a regular citation as the way you would cite any other textbook.
And then, Robin, can you explain briefly about public domain?
Yeah, public domain is basically just anything. When something's in public domain, it belongs to the public, basically. So there is a limitation for some things that I think it's, what was it, 50? It should say there. Yeah, there's a year limit though. 120 years from creation? 70 years, protected 70 years, that's it. So a lot of Disney stuff, or a lot of some of the older classic books, for example, have hit that point. But the reason that they aren't in public domain is because the publishers have sold the rights to Disney. Whenever the rights are sold, that whole clock rewinds on them. It's copyright is very, very confusing if you get into the nitty-gritty of it. So a lot of the stuff that is older that you would think would be public domain isn't. And then there's a lot of stuff that is surprisingly in the public domain that you wouldn't expect it to be. I mean, for example, Stephen King sells the rights to make movies to his books for $1 sometimes, if it's a film student who wants to do it. So it's dependent upon the initial creator as well as the law, and then the immediate family of a creator too can sometimes inherit the copyright, so to speak.
And then I just wanted to briefly mention, if you're ever interested in adopting OER textbook or another material, they do have the time involved in adopting material for a program. They do have, the Virtual Library of Virginia does have open course grants, as well as open adopt grants. And I provide the link to the VIVA or Virtual Library of Virginia site. But take your time looking at some of these grants because you might be interested. Now they just awarded grants this past March for both the adopt grants and the course grants. And you can reach out to Robin or me, or you could just email this, because they reside at George Mason University, the VIVA office, and you can email them if you want to find out more about these grants. But I do provide the links that give you more detail on, so applications, so there won't be grants to next November because they just finished that up the end of last year. But you can read a little bit about the grants there, as well as the open course grants. There's actually, and it depends on how much money or grant money is available. There's a content creation grant, open pedagogy grants, open ancillary grants, and so forth. So if you're interested, read the information on these VIVA pages. And then if you want to learn more, like I said, you can either email the VIVA office or you can reach out to any one of our Reynolds librarians and we can assist you with that.
And I can tell you, if you tell your classroom of students, by the way, the textbook for this course is free, you'll get an immediate response, a very positive immediate response. It's almost worth it just for that one moment. But like I said, there are a lot of other benefits, including that the textbooks tend to be updated regularly. The more that you look for resources, you'll usually find if other people are using the same textbook, they'll share their lesson plans. There's just a lot of resources out there, and it's so rewarding to be able to help students out, even that small amount, because it does make a difference.
Right. Let me go ahead. I wanted to poll you again. Hopefully, I don't know if I need to show that to you again. If you can go back to that, unless you already still have it open, pollev.com/dwoetzel123. Well, if you save the link to the LibGuide, you could just click on the first page and then click on this link here. And then I'm going to go to the next question. Let's see. Okay, so list at least one interesting resource, service, or idea you learned during today's session that, well, we did run out of time, but you might want to reach out to us and discuss it further or investigate it on your own. But yeah, you can list at least one resource that you found interesting or that you might want to use in the future. Okay, grants, okay. Okay,
I think I'm actually gonna have to get going. I'm excited for Friday. It'll be fun. We'll both be in person. And thank you for everyone who did attend. We really appreciate it, and I really hope that we hear more from you and we can help you find a good OER. Thank you, Denise and
Thank you.
Kevin and everyone.
okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
And I did forward to the next question in the poll. If you can just briefly indicate what you liked most about today's session.
I was trying to type mine. I think I was typing too much. It was all the resources. I've clicked on every link looking for early childhood education content. So I have all of the links open and kind of playing around with them as you all were talking.
Okay, since it's, I mean, you know, you don't have to put it in the poll, but because we only have a few participants. But yeah, my next, well, my last question in the poll is how would you improve this session? Was an hour enough? I mean, because sometimes I feel like, you know, you might be overwhelmed if we spent more than an hour.
I think more time is needed because it's a lot of information to kind of soak in. And if we had an extended time, we could kind of play around with some of the links because I was trying to find the very first one you hit with the early childhood education and I couldn't find it, but I did find some other resources. So yeah, definitely need more time to research and play around with all the resources.
Okay, well, what I'm gonna do, well, you know, you probably find my email easily. But let me go ahead and put it in the chat. So if you want to reach out to me, or even if you want to, I'll put Robin's in there too. But email me, I just put that in the chat. If, you know, we can meet via Zoom, we can meet via person one-on-one, and we could take a look at these resources together to find something that might be suitable for your classes. And then now I do want to mention though that, and that's why Robin had to leave. She's part-time, but if you want to work with Robin on a Friday, she's here on Friday. I put Robin Pesko's email in the chat as well. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you for joining today's session. And you have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. This was very informative.